Opinion: A Quad Industrial Compact to anchor US-India economic alignment. Power doesn't always arrive with a bang. Sometimes, it hums quietly through the rhythm of assembly lines, the precision of a robotic arm, or the silent extraction of lithium from ancient rock. We often think of strategy in terms of diplomacy and deterrence, but the deeper architecture of power is economic, woven through trust, shared labor, and mutual capability. The philosopher Byung-Chul Han wrote that today's conflicts are no longer viral but neural. They are less about overt aggression, more about systems of dependency. And in that sense, resilience is no longer a matter of who has the most firepower, but who controls the circuit boards, critical minerals, and production standards that make the firepower work. Real alliances are not built in summit rooms but in the subtle choreography between supply chains and shared intent. That's why a Quad Industrial Compact is necessary evolution. One that transforms alignment from a diplomatic gesture into an economic structure robust enough to anchor the future. On May 31st at the Shangri-La Dialogue, U.S. Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth underscored the urgency of integrating industrial bases across allies, noting, "It's one thing for an adversary to see multinational forces, it's another to see an integrated defense industrial base supporting those forces." The US-led Partnership for Indo-Pacific Industrial Resilience (PIPR) reflects that vision. The message to allies was clear. Symbolic alignment will not suffice. Partners must deliver shared capabilities. This doctrine reflects a drastic if not perilous situation. China reigns supreme in advanced manufacturing, controlling over 70% of global critical minerals processing and 80% of solar manufacturing. This creates economic dependence as a tool of coercion. Simultaneously, U.S. policy volatility, from tariff swings to exclusionary subsidies, further accentuates uncertainty for partners seeking long-term alignment. Even as the recent India-Pakistan conflict rehyphenated India in Washington's imagination, now more than ever, it is important we keep our eye on the ball, that is ever so quickly approaching. A Quad Industrial Compact is necessary to deepen trade, investment, innovation, and supply chain linkages among the United States, India, Japan, and Australia. It would anchor multilateral cooperation in shared economic strength, reduce exposure to coercive dependencies, and transform diplomatic convergence into resilience. Geopolitical threats are sharpening as economic coercion becomes a standard tool of statecraft. The Quad is already the Indo-Pacific's leading soft security framework, but the line between soft and hard power is blurring. Economic heft underwrites diplomatic influence. A formal industrial framework among the Quad countries would reinforce deterrence by embedding economic interdependence, making strategic decoupling costly and cooperation sticky. Macroeconomic trends reveal deep complementarities among Quad countries. India, with a median age of 29.8, contrasts with Japan's 49.9, the US's 38.9, and Australia's 38.1. India adds between 78 million workers annually, while Japan faces population decline and the US grapples with skilled labor shortages. India's projected 6.2% GDP growth in 2025 dwarfs forecasts for the US 1.8%, Japan 0.6%, and Australia 1.6%. Yet, its labor force participation lags at 55% with just 26% for women, signaling vast untapped capacity for at-scale manufacturing. Scale also varies. India's 4 trillion economy serves 1.6 billion people. Australia's 1.7 trillion serves just 27 million. Despite employing 57 million, India's manufacturing sector contributes just 13–14% to GDP, below its 25% target. The potential for advanced manufacturing is immense. India's production-linked incentive PLI schemes have attracted 18.72 billion in investment across target sectors including electronics, automotive, and pharmaceuticals. For instance, since 2020, manufacturing in the EV sector has increased by 860%, with the two-wheeler EV sector recording a whopping 3,400% growth. Despite momentum, there is a lack of cross-border industrial coordination. The Quad possesses complementary strengths across advanced sectors worth $340 billion annually. Yet coordination gaps prevent these advantages from becoming strategic leverage against China. In battery materials, Australia mines 50% of global lithium but processes only 3%, exporting the rest to China. India holds significant graphite reserves with emerging anode manufacturing capabilities like Epsilon Advanced Materials. Together, the countries can create integrated anode-cathode supply chains for U.S. battery manufacturing plans of 1 TWh capacity by 2030. In semiconductors, Japan holds one-third of global fabrication equipment market share while India has ambitious fab manufacturing goals, attracting proposals worth $21 billion already. The US leads in design and advanced manufacturing incentives. This creates a complete value chain from equipment to production to innovation if coordinated. The innovation manufacturing bridge reveals deeper synergy. The US leads in R&D $900 billion in 2023, private equity $838 billion deal flow in 2024 and venture capital $360 billion in 2024 but remains vulnerable in critical mineral inputs and midstream production. Australia provides raw materials, India offers cost-effective manufacturing scale, and Japan contributes technical expertise. Cross-border tax incentives and coordinated policy frameworks can transform individual national strengths into competitive advantages while reducing strategic dependencies. ASEAN has shown how fragmented countries can build regional supply chains through regulatory harmonization. Rather than tariffs or FTA sprawl, ASEAN focused on behind-the-border coordination, common standards, certification reciprocity, and customs digitization. Electrical and automotive supply chains stretch from Thailand to Vietnam, enabled by mutual recognition of conformity assessments and data sharing norms. The Quad should adapt this model. Shared industrial standards, synchronized subsidies, and interoperable certifications could ease trade frictions. Vietnam's entry into semiconductor chains without heavy onshoring, or Japan's Mekong investments, show how aligned priorities can yield structural benefits. ASEAN's success harmonizing sanitary and phytosanitary measures and customs clearance, as in the ASEAN single window, offers a tested roadmap. A Quad industrial compact can work on three pillars. Pillar 1, trade and investment partnership. The Quad lacks a unified trade architecture. The US has no FTAs with India or Japan. India's tariff regime remains opaque and protectionist in key sectors like semiconductors, solar, and agri-inputs. The disjointedness deters cross-border investment. A Quad compact should harmonize regulations in strategic sectors and prioritize mutual recognition of testing, certification, and sustainability standards. Harmonized tariffs on critical goods like EV battery components, solar modules, and semiconductors would reduce the transactional costs of cross-border value chains. Customs platforms like India's iSCATE or Australia's ICS could be integrated through a federated digital single-window system that allows seamless cargo movement across the four economies. In addition, a Quad economic framework could serve as the legal and institutional backbone. It could include a commercial arbitration mechanism, rotating jurisdiction among member countries, and a neutral secretariat. This body would adjudicate investment disputes, protect intellectual property rights, and facilitate enforcement of cross-border contracts. Over time, its authority could be broadened to issue compliance rulings and develop model commercial codes to ease legal fragmentation. Pillar 2, Industrial Strategy Council. Each Quad country has launched major national industrial programs. India's 26 billion PLI, the U.S.'s 447 billion IRA and CHIPS Act, Japan's 68 billion semiconductor and AI package, Australia's 15 billion National Reconstruction Fund. Yet these often operate in parallel rather than in sync. The Quad Industrial Strategy Council should serve as a central coordination mechanism to align initiatives, mapping production capacities, identifying supply chain gaps, and developing shared project pipelines. It could also fund feasibility studies and joint venture matchmaking. For example, a jointly subsidized lithium oxide facility could combine Australia's raw material advantage, Indian processing, Japanese tech, and US demand. The Council should prioritize project co-location strategies. Semiconductor materials firms in Japan could be fast-tracked into India's emerging fabrication clusters under US CHIPS Act support, while Australia offers green energy infrastructure. Joint industrial zones, backed by all four governments, should include coordinated permitting, cross-border equity ownership structures, and integrated logistics hubs. Pillar 3 Quad Innovation Skills Platform. High-tech collaboration within the Quad is hindered by fragmentation and duplication. The platform should aim to consolidate existing initiatives and create economies of scale in both talent and research funding. A shared Quad research fund should be launched, with mandates for multi-country consortia. Its grants could focus on mission-critical technologies such as artificial intelligence, biotechnology, smart grid systems, and green hydrogen. Each grant should require participation from institutions in at least 3 member countries, encouraging mobility, trust, and diffusion of results. Meanwhile, a Quad Skills Accord should standardize credential recognition and create fast-track pathways for technical professionals. For example, a mining engineer certified in Western Australia should be eligible to work on Indian rare earth projects without regulatory duplication. Similarly, Indian data scientists or Japanese robotics engineers should be able to participate in innovation programs without immigration friction. Short-term research visas and talent exchanges would accelerate this pipeline. The platform must also promote convergence in digital governance. As each Quad member debates AI regulation, data localization, and cybersecurity policy, a common minimum standard aligned loosely with OECD or ASEAN frameworks would provide legal predictability for startups and multinationals alike. Digital public goods such as interoperable identity systems, data protection protocols, and cybersecurity audits could be shared across borders. A Quad Industrial Compact would transform the Indo-Pacific soft security architecture into an economic coalition. For India, it offers a bridge from aspiration to execution. For the US, it provides industrial leverage to complement its military presence. For Japan and Australia, it offers a hedge against economic over-reliance on China. More than a diplomatic arrangement, the compact would be a shared industrial scaffolding, a one-of-a-kind industrial compact preempted by security. Swipe left for next video. The Quad now faces a choice: continue with fragmented coordination, or build an architecture resilient enough to outlast politics, absorb shocks, and shape the regional order for decades to come. Audit USIndia writes on macroeconomic and geopolitical issues. Akshat Singh is an independent policy consultant and previously was an associate fellow at the Center for Strategic and International Studies, Washington, D.C. Views expressed in the above piece are personal and solely those of the authors. They do not necessarily reflect News 18's views. Latest blogs.